Om Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. We are reading from chapter 4, and we reached verse 25. Actually, in verse 24, the idea of sacrifice starts, but verse 24, as we discussed, is the pure wisdom sacrifice. And now we'll see some other examples. 25. Some yogis perform sacrifice to the gods alone, while others who have realized the self offer the self as sacrifice by the self in the fire of Brahman alone. Swami Shivananda explains, some yogis who are devoted to karma yoga, meaning who are doing action with the sense of agency, with the sense of doership, perform sacrificial rites to the shining ones or the deva, the gods. What does it mean here? Again, we are going to the context of the Bhagavad Gita. Karma kanda. The people who are on the path of action can either act for selfish motives, meaning do the offerings with the intention of gaining something for themselves, or they do as karma yoga for the maintaining of the dharma. So even if a person is doing karma yoga, they are still acting, and therefore according to the Vedas, so if this person was a member of a Vedic society, they had to do certain rites. So this is what is referred to here. They are doing the Vedic rites and rituals, which is offering to the different deities, and it is an action. It is an action by a person with a sense of doership. Whereas others, who have already realized the self, who see the unity, who see that everything indeed is the supreme, as we discussed before, they are already outside the path of action. So all they do is offer the self as sacrifice by the self. They are all absorbed in this supreme reality, and they are on the path of inaction. So again, this is a way to describe the two paths, the path of action and the path of inaction. And how is it done? 26. Some again offer the organ of hearing and other senses as sacrifice in the fire of restraint. Others offer sound and other objects of the senses as sacrifice in the fire of the senses. So this is karma yoga. This is the yoga of action. There is a doer here, and this doer is practicing. What are they practicing? They are practicing pratyahara, the restraint of the senses, the withdrawal of the senses. So they gather their senses under the guidance of the self, so meaning they follow scripture, they gather the senses, and they do not allow the senses to come in contact with sensual objects. Withdrawal of the senses. They are doing the yogic practices. But again and again, the question is why I'm doing this action. Okay, I have the sense of agency. I have the sense of doership. I have the vision of duality, but I still want to progress in yoga. This is what Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna. Why you're asking me to do actions? Lord Krishna is telling him, because you are not ready for inaction yet. But even through action, you can purify, you can learn, you can eventually realize. But how to do this action? As an offering. So if I am doing all the practices to gain some supernatural power, or to gain some name and fame, or just because I don't want to do other things that I should be doing by dharma, not good. But if I am doing the practices as an offering, saying this I am doing to purify, so that knowledge can come to me by the grace of the Almighty. This is the sacrifice, and this will be the aid to purification. So this is one example, and the examples continue. Others again sacrifice all the functions of the senses and those of the breath, vital energy or prana in the fire of yoga, of self-restraint kindled by knowledge. So why we are doing the self-restraint? Because we have the knowledge that we need to lessen our desires, to internalize the mind so that we can meditate, so that we can behold the Supreme. But I'm doing it as an offering, not for personal benefit. As an offering so that knowledge can dawn by the grace of the Almighty. 28. Others again offer wealth, austerity, and yoga as sacrifice, while the ascetics of self-restraint and rigid vows offer study of scriptures and knowledge of sacrifice. So when the person is on the path of action and they still have possession, they can do the practices with the possession. So they can offer in charity. For instance, Swami Shivananda talks a lot about cultivating the virtue of charity and how important it is. So some sacrifice by distributing their wealth to the deserving as charity. But they don't do it so that some building will be named after them. They do it as a means of purification, as an offering, as a sacrifice. Whereas the renunciates that no longer have possession, but they are still acting because they didn't yet realize to the level that they are eligible to the path of inaction. What they're doing, they're offering, they're studying their practices. So this is the example that is brought here, and the examples continue in the next verses. So please join us to study them together. Om Shanti.